The best that they can do right now for American citizens is $750 for, diapers and formula and things like that. And that's if you even get approved. Kamala could be the first, but America very well might be last. And you're probably wondering, what do I mean? Why am I saying Kamala might be the first, but that America might be last? Well, what I'm doing is I'm kind of using a play on words because this election is very historic. We have, we had one of the oldest presidents step down, and the country really wasn't given an opportunity to elect through a primary process, a replacement. Essentially what happened is we were told that this was going to be the Democratic nominee. She was kind of just placed in this position. People did not get to vote. But, the party of democracy didn't seem to mind or bother them that much. They kind of just went along with it. And it's historic because this individual, Kamala Harris, would be, if she were to win the election, she would be the first female, and then she would be allegedly the first candidate or president of color. Depending on how you look at it, it's been said before that we've had a minority president before. I think someone who was of Indian descent. Oh, well, look at that. This would probably be the second one then, because Kamala has been sold to us as the first Black female presidential nominee that would win. But as more information is coming out, and we really didn't need to go digging that deep, what I believe is happening here is that we are being told that she is of Black American descent, but she is not. Shout out to you, Candace Owens, who is cracking the code and doing all kinds of research. And I know a lot of people are like, well, why is Candace doing this? It shouldn't matter. We should be past that. No, it matters. It matters because the left is always reminding us that being the first, having this vanity metric, this symbolism is of the utmost importance. Forget your qualifications, forget your skill sets, forget whatever experience that you bring to the table. We just want the first. Forget the fact that she's already been in office and she's demonstrated no ability to lead well. She actually presents more of a very weak position. And in fact, the idea of this woman being in office scares me. Now, she's already in office as our vice president, but if she were to win the presidency, fear is not from God. So when I say I'm terrified, I am not saying that my hope and trust is in the government, but it is a fear of the policies that I know that she would put in place, coupled with the fear that I see in her eyes. When I watch her in front of the media and when she has to actually engage with other humans, the woman looks darn near terrified. She doesn't exude confidence. She doesn't exude a position of, I am asserting myself in this position because I know what's required and I know what to do. She can't articulate her positions well, and she's always running away from the press. That is very concerning to me. And so when I decided to cover this topic tonight, I wanted to cover it from the angle of, yes, we all can agree that if Kamala Harris were to win the election to be president of the United States, that yes, she would be the first. But what does that mean for America? Does that mean that she is the first, so now we're going to be first? Or does it mean that she's going to be the first, but we are ultimately going to be last? I am arguing that she's already demonstrated that America is last by way of how she has voted in the Senate, how she has voted as the VP, the deciding vote on who we're going to send money to, her utter dereliction of duty in terms of being the person in charge of our immigration issue and the border. She has completely abandoned that responsibility and basically said that, the wall that was built in the last administration was racist and it was xenophobic. And now what do we have? We have a country that's being overrun with the highest amount of illegal immigration that we have ever seen. Our country is less safe. Our veterans are not being taken care of, and Americans are being put at the bottom of the list. We are behind Ukraine. We are behind every other nation got their hands in our pockets. But when it comes to the taxpayers, the people whose blood, sweat, and tears who contribute to the financial stability of this country by way of our tax dollars, we are last. And they do it in your face. Right? They play in our face and try to convince you that something is wrong with you for having the audacity to want Americans to be put first. They want you to be the ones on the plane that when the plane's going down and the oxygen mask come down, they don't want you to put your mask on first. No, they want you to gasp for air and make sure everybody else on that plane is taken care of and you don't worry about yourself. Because worrying about yourself and the people that you love and the people that you are given the sole responsibility to take care of. No, you got to put yourself last.
Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas sounding the alarm on FEMA funding right after the devastation of Hurricane Helene. Listen.
We are meeting the immediate needs with the money that we have. We are expecting another hurricane hitting. We do not have the funds. FEMA does not have the funds to make it through the season.
This all comes as the Biden-Harris administration spent over $1 billion from a FEMA program on services for migrants. Attorney General of the great state of Florida, Ashley Moody, joins me now. AG Moody, why does the Biden-Harris administration always seem to help American taxpayers last?
Good morning, Todd. Yeah, everyone should be waking up this morning outraged by that comment. This is not something that has just happened recently, and Florida's been warning about this since this administration took over. Mayorkas has come in like a virus and infected these what need to be healthy, strong, fundamental programs to ensure the stability and safety of Americans in times of disaster. So you heard, they have taken the FEMA Emergency Food and Shelter Program and over time siphoned off hundreds of millions of dollars into basically making it an illegal immigrant resettlement program. And so when you see these states and cities around the nation declaring emergencies, even blue states, because of what this administration has done, encouraging more and more and more, developing programs to encourage more and more and more people to come here, the government, Biden and Harris, are having to fund that on the backs of the American people. And now, right now, in Florida, North Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia, all of these states are hurting because of this truly natural disaster, not a Biden-Harris-made disaster. They're saying we need more money. And of course they need more money because they've been laundering it from the true intended purpose of this fund that Congress set forth. Laws be damned.
There's two things going on here. We just touched upon the main thing, this horrific prioritization of migrants over American taxpayers. But there's also something else here. What does this say about the Biden-Harris administration's ability to just lead? If they underfunded FEMA this much, and we are not even close to being in the heart of hurricane season, which in reality is August, September, October, and November, A.G. Moody.
Look, this is what President Trump did so well while in office. He could get to a 30,000-foot level, look at the health of American agencies and programs, determine what the problems were, and enlist resources, talented individuals, and a strategy to put Americans and the safety and strength of this nation first. I've seen it work here in Florida with Governor DeSantis. We decide where our problems are, we set forth to fix them, and we make sure sure not only money, but the strategy and talented personnel are in place to fix them. So, for example, when you have a disaster like this, and you know when there's no electricity, instability, when there's people needing just the basics of life because of a disaster. I was with officers the other night, and we surged our resources in vulnerable areas to looting. We made sure officers knew what to look for when it was in complete darkness.
Right.
They knew what to charge. We make sure our state attorneys know to hold these people so they don't get back out and start ravaging these communities again. It takes proactive efforts, and you just do not see this out of this administration. And here in the roosters of coming home to roost, look at what's happening right now.
The Florida model
when
really...
we're in the middle of a disaster with this administration at the helm.
You're right. The Florida model really does need to be a 50-state solution. Just want to mention this. You all launched an anti-looting team in response to Hurricane Helene, coming as 8 migrant workers are arrested in Tennessee, accused of stealing from flooded buildings. You guys do it right down there. I would just add, only a depraved person steals from someone in their time of need.
Essentially, we just learned that FEMA's broke. Now, is that FEMA is necessarily broke? Okay, so yes, it was underfunded, but it's deeper than that. FEMA is broke because there are not enough resources available in the fund to meet the immediate needs of the people who need it, because money was siphoned out of the fund using a loophole that the Biden-Harris administration has been really good at finding loopholes and finding ways to get access to money that they're not supposed to. Basically, money was used from the FEMA fund through this loophole to take care of migrants. Okay, now I've been talking about this illegal immigration situation for quite some time. Beginning earlier this year, I've covered it extensively. I have talked about how up in New York and up in Chicago and other blue-led Democrat cities, how the red carpet is just being rolled out for these people. They are posted up in hotels and they're getting money for housing, money for food. I mean, and they're getting real uppity and high-sidity with it. But it's funny. It's funny how they didn't think ahead. And this gives you an insight as to how career politicians lead, because they never responsibly steward well over your money, right? It's always an endless supply of your money. They don't steward it well, and they don't think ahead in terms of planning for the fact that hurricane season isn't new. It ain't like it just springs up on you and you be like, well, we might have a hurricane season, we might not. Now, some years are not as bad as others, but we have way too much advancement in technology, way too much for them to be like, well, we just did not know. We know when the hurricane season is going to start. If the government, which I am not a big fan of big government, because I just believe the bigger government is, the more inefficient they are. But if your local grocery store operates off of, they have these models, they can run these reports based on the history of sales from before. They can ascertain, okay, over the past 2 years or 3 years, in this month, we do an average of this amount of sales. So that way we can project and predict what sales might be in this quarter or this particular month or this particular week. This is how I will never forget. During the pandemic, I asked the people at my local grocery store, and he explained to me in great detail. He said, listen, we work off of projections. The items that you see on your shelves in your grocery store, it's based off of statistics. We know how many people buy, Captain Crunch usually. And so the amount of Captain Crunch that is going to come in to replenish from the weekend before is based off of a historical sales model. The same way with the government. They have a general idea based on weather patterns. I mean, these are the people that's all into manipulating the climate. They should have been able to predict, okay, we're going to have this many possible hurricanes this season. We should have this amount of money put aside so that we can take care of our people. But in order for that to happen, they'd actually have to care about their people, and they've demonstrated that they don't care. They've demonstrated that the illegal migrants that they have welcomed in and opened up the floodgates to allow them to come in, those are their priority. And we're going to get to why those individuals are of the utmost importance and priority to them. We're going to talk about that. But before we get to that, I played you that clip so that you could see that FEMA ain't got no money. Like, Mayorkas is like, we don't have the funds, you know, really to do what we need to do. And yeah, at least they were honest. At least they were honest, right? But the question is, why isn't it incumbent upon Kamala to answer questions about why FEMA is exhausted, why they don't have no money? Like, she has really evaded these kinds of questions. And I think I have a clip of her literally sitting in a press conference, and the press is asking her about this, and she's just sitting there looking like a deer in headlights, like just boo-boo the fool, like, I ain't got nothing for you. It ain't in my earpiece. They didn't told me to say this, so I don't know what y'all want from me. So instead, she's just sitting at the table like this. She's just looking around, ain't answering not nail one word. And so when we see situations like this, it makes you wonder. And if you are a Biden-Harris voter, I want to let you know that I do. I love you as an image bearer of God. But I am confused and concerned that you are not thinking rightly about the job vacancy that needs to be filled. And that for whatever reason, whatever emotional roadblock that you are dealing with right now, I just want to deal with it tonight, because this right here is ridiculous and it cannot be explained away. And we can talk all about, well, the orange man and grabbing him by this. Yes, we get it. We get it. You work with coworkers who are probably trash and do all kinds of things in their personal life. And I am not saying that those things are not important. What I am saying is right now there is a job that needs to be filled. And we need an American first patriot who's going to fill that job. And right now, this administration is trash. Why has it taken them so long to just show up? Just show up. Why was everything not put aside to say Americans need us right now because they are experiencing devastation that they cannot imagine, families displaced? But instead, she just decided to pause the campaign trail to do a couple of things. One, show up to the border, which she's like 3 years too late. I'm just trying to figure out why show up now for the photo op. Like you care, standing there looking at the wall, like you didn't disavow the wall and demand that we stop construction on this wall. Like, what you standing there staring at the wall for, Kamala? That's what we're trying to figure out. But they've made it clear, the individuals who are not citizens of this country, they were the recipient of some of this FEMA money using a loophole, and they've demonstrated, this administration has demonstrated that they have no loyalty or commitment to taking care of Americans first, because their loyalty and commitment are to the illegal immigrants who, by very nature of them not being citizens of this country, these individuals they're not familiar with our values. They're not committed to our values, or they're not committed to our way of life. They have no knowledge of our Constitution. They've not been assimilated into this country. But yet, the Biden-Harris administration is demonstrated and allowed these people to come in. And through their leadership, the Biden-Harris administration's leadership, they've demonstrated that they are woefully incompetent. First of all, where is Joe? Like, did he just show up and this hurricane hit last Thursday? It's been a week and a day. It's been a week and a day. Joe is probably sitting there like, y'all told me that my Jell-O was coming. Like, where's my Jell-O? And they're like, Mr. President, the people down in Florida. And he's like, but my Jell-O. Like, he's somewhere else. He done checked out. Kamala, she is trying to salvage what's left of this defunct campaign, particularly because now it's out that everybody knows that not only is she incompetent and can't answer questions, but we don't even know who this woman is. Like, her daddy, who is her daddy, we don't know who he is. Like, Candace Owens is just blowing the lid off this whole bad boy right here. But my issue right now with their response is that it has been so irresponsible. One, irresponsible in terms of how they've handled or the way that the fund doesn't have inadequate money because they've siphoned money out of it to take care of the illegals. And I can guarantee the illegals is getting way more than $750. Like, the best that they can do right now for American citizens is $750 for, you know, diapers and formula and things like that. And that's if you even get approved. There are stories where people have done videos saying, once we finally got some internet and was able to apply, we were denied. We were denied. All of this bureaucracy, all of this red tape, these people, why are we not taking care of Americans first? Why have they been so slow to act?